Videographer is on a boat somewhere.
And he will come back.
He's promised he'll come back. Are we ready now?
Yeah.
Good morning.
Good morning.
And our standard monthly agenda, starting with treasurer's report, the membership report, computer club activities, a favorite app that's really not an app, but it's entertaining, classes, community matters, and our feature presentation. Treasurer's report, we continue to have money. The highlight there is the second bottom line, the Grafton Food Pantry contributions. We cleared $1,000 for 22. And that's thanks to your donations for the coffee and donuts. They appreciate it. They get $8 of purchase power out of every dollar we give them. So that's $8,000 that the food pantry gets out of us. And then we do get thank you notes back. Our membership numbers are still very good. They're up a little bit from a year ago, like by 5, I think. December 31 total of 1523. Renewals will begin, I think it's going to be the 1st of May. Again, 3 years for 15, 1 year for 10, and fiscal year is a July 1st date. Club matters, as usual, we're meeting here next month on the second Thursday. Meeting at 9:30 promptly, hopefully, and coffee donuts at 9. The lab is open on Monday and Thursdays from 9 to noon, and it will be open after our meeting this morning. The Apple group meets on the first Tuesday of the month, and the photography group is on hiatus, which means they're all out in Sun City, Arizona. Our February meeting is on the 9th. We have 2 presentations. First is custom greeting cards from, believe it or not, Walgreens. You can design them online. They'll print them, you pick them up, and they start at $1.99 each. I know people in the room do greeting cards. Our children and grandchildren don't know what they are, but we can get them at a good price. The second feature is going to be a thing called Passkeys, which is approved and working by Apple, Microsoft, and Chrome, and is eventually could be a password replacement. Okay, this is favorite app. It's not really an app. And you know we don't promote products normally, iPhone, but we've got something here to show you. You can show your grandchildren that you're a Harry Potter fan and a techno whiz. So now, follow the instructions, turn your phone on, your iPhone only, turn it on, it's okay. Now, as it says, it's a group experiment. On the count of 3, you say those 2 words that I'm not going to say now. All right, say it into your phone. 3, 2, 1. Hey, Siri. And then, Lumos. Hey, Siri. Lumos. Well, it works every other time. Turn your flashlight on. There it is. We got some folks have their flashlights on. Hey! Hey, it works. Now to turn it off, you say Knox, N-O-X. Okay? So now you can amaze your grandchildren that you're a techno whiz and you know gimmicks and gadgets that the iPhone will do. Hopefully Android will catch up someday. What do you think about this? Feedback here. Now, we received a note from our dear friends down the road at Woodchucks. Classes are resuming. January classes started last week. Remember, our classes are free to members. They're held in the computer lab. No reservations are needed. You just show up. And remember to bring your username and password if you're going to use your device during the class. Here's an overview of the listing. We've got 2 Android classes, a Windows 11 class backed by popular demand. I'm doing an iPhone for beginners next week. If you're new to the iPhone, having transferred over from the dark side to the bright side, we'll show you how to get something out of your phone. And we have a new class. Shelley's going to be teaching, and he's going to come up and give us an idea as to what's involved with this free, capital letters free, from Microsoft, Windows, Excel, and PowerPoint. And Word. I left it off. Sorry, Shelley.
So Microsoft has been trying to realign all their products, their Office products, which has been kind of confusing. They've got they have Office 365, they have Microsoft 365, they have Microsoft Office, and they all have different icons. So it was very confusing. So now what they're trying to do is unify everything towards one name, and they're going to be calling it Microsoft 365. And they're going to use a different logo. Some of you may be familiar with the Office logo. It looks like a kind of a 3-dimensional red square. It's now a blue icon, totally different. So that's a change there. So yeah, the other thing is, for those of you who aren't aware, if you're using Office 2019, that's the non-subscription version that's current right now. That one will be going to end of service on at the end of this year in October. So that's only going to leave Office 2021 as the current version that will still be supported. So if you're using anything even older than that, you should probably uninstall it because it's not being supported. You're not getting any security patches, and it's subject to hacking. So the other thing is, so you have a few choices you can do. You can use Office 2021, which is a product you can buy. It'll get support for, I believe it's 5 years till 2026. Or you can get the subscription version, and those are $70 for one user. Or if you want a family version, that gives you up to 6 users, and that one is $100 per year as a subscription, and it also gives you a subscription to the cloud drive, OneDrive. The other thing that they're doing is at the end of this month, they're going to have what they're calling Microsoft 365 Basic, which is going to give you OneDrive for $1.99 a month or $19.95 a year, and that will be for 100 gig, not for a full terabyte as you would get with Microsoft 365. It's just for 100 gig, but that's more than the 5 gig. The 5 gig is what they give you for free, and for most people, 5 gig is all they need. So if you're not putting photos on there, you can probably store about 50,000 average-sized documents in 5 gig. So that's quite a lot. So anyway, they also have a set of free apps, which is Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and a few others that are included. And these are absolutely free. It's kind of like a light version of Microsoft Office. So if you don't have need for really sophisticated type things, and you just want to, just to create documents in Word, or perhaps do a spreadsheet, you can certainly use this, and it's absolutely free. So I'm going to be doing a class next week. As you can see, it's a week from tomorrow at 10 a.m. in the lab. And we'll actually, if you bring in your your laptop, we can help you install it right then and there. Now, the only thing that's required is a Microsoft account. So you should know your Microsoft account, email address and password, or be ready to create one. If you don't have one, we can create one for you. So that's about it.
Thank you, Shelley. And one thing I want to mention came to the brain while Shelley was talking. We put notices out from Microsoft on the change of the end of Windows 7 and 8.0 and 8.1. And then there was a notice we got from TurboTax and Quicken that they'll no longer work with either of those Windows level products. So if you still are using 7 or 8, for goodness sakes, bring your laptop to the club, to the lab, and we'll get you updated to current product, which will then support going forward. Basically, what TurboTax is saying is if you want to use their product to do your taxes for 22, you need to upgrade your operating system. And it's free. Community Matters. On the 25th, there's the annual meeting here, and you need to be there. You either be there or send in a proxy ballot where they'll vote on the bylaws, et cetera, and to pay some bills. And then the board meeting follows that. The 16th is Martin Luther King Day. It is a postal holiday, but Waste Management will still be coming around to pick up your stuff. Theater company auditions, those of you that are theatrically inclined, are the 23rd and 4th. The program for spring is the musical version of 9 to 5 in April. Now we know this is important. Bingo is coming back. It's on the 8th, $14 for admission. The doors open at 11:30, but the line does start at sunrise. As a photo I got from our friends down the hall here at Jameson's. But seriously, our featured presentation this morning, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And we have two gentlemen here from the school district. We have Dr. Budzinski. He's the Chief Technology Officer for the district with more than 20 years education technology experience. His background and experience ranges from the old days where you had one computer per classroom to one computer per student and staff for more than 10,000. He's been with the district since 13. We also have Dr. Brian, I knew I was going to mess this up, Zwentke. He's the Assistant Superintendent for Secondary Learning and Education, Learning and Innovation. That's what it says right there. Now that means that he works with grades 6 through 12. More than 22 years of experience in a variety of educational settings, where he's focused on student achievement and engagement. He just joined the district last July. Gentlemen, now we have to make a switch in technology here. HDMI, who gets it? Let's see if it's gonna come up. Yeah, there we go. There we go.
Gotta love when technology works correctly. Well, thank you very much for having us today. Normally, my name is the complex one to pronounce. I am Chris Budzinski, and I'm glad to have Dr. Zwentke with me here as well. We were invited here today to talk about technology, 21st century learning, and the Huntington 158 School District. So we'll get right into that. A little bit about us, which in tiny text, this was already mentioned, so we're good there. I do like to add, while I have the microphone, if you're a regular attendee to these meetings, you can remember back about 5 years ago, I stood up here and I shared a lot about the district, And some of the technology that we had happening at that point in time, and 5 years ago, was the point where our school district really became fully one-to-one, where every student at that point had a device. That was the first year that that was the case, and that was 5 years ago. So we'll get a little bit of how that's impactful for our school district, especially when Dr. Zlemke takes over and shares a little bit about the innovative learning opportunities that we have now and kind of where we're heading in the future. So we'll ease right into that. A little bit about our district. We are a pre-K through 12th grade plus. We also have a transition program in our district for students up to and through age 22. So about 8,600 students, 1,200 total staff members. That interestingly makes us one of the largest employers in all of McHenry County. I believe second only to the Northwestern Medicine Health System. So think about a very large organization and the efforts that we put in that impact not only our community, but the county at large. Our goals in the district, and not just for our students, but for everyone that we encounter, is to develop lifelong self-directed learners who are active participants in an ever-changing world with the confidence to take risks and fail forward. We try to tell everybody it's okay to make mistakes, learn from them. It's okay to try something new and have it not go well. The purpose of that is to learn from it and to do better next time. Hold that in very high regard for our students, our staff as well. Also established 21st century thinkers equipped with the skills and critical thinking, problem solving, creativity, communication, collaboration skills. These are really those top tier 21st century learning ideals that we really try to encourage our students and our staff members to take ownership of. And of course, to be champions of their own personal growth and development. If our students and our staff members can take their own initiative to drive their own learning, to satisfy their own curiosities, they will by default learn. So like I mentioned, I was here about 5 years ago talking about some of the history of technology in our school district. We had started our one-to-one computer journey with students back in 2012. I actually started in the district in 2013. I was at the kind of the trailing end of that first school year where we started giving devices to students. That year, in 2013, we had one school that basically went from zero technology, not even projectors in classrooms. In some classrooms, they had computers. To the very next August, every student had a computer, every student had access to the internet, every classroom had computers, every classroom had projectors, all over the course of one summer. And you can imagine that first school year, we learned a lot. We made some mistakes, and I'll tell you, we failed forward. We learned from those mistakes, and the program got better from day one. So here we are, fast forward 10 years, and I'm going to talk about that little bit of a speed bump we had a couple years ago, because it's impactful. None of us could have predicted 10 years ago that there was going to be a global pandemic that was going to completely upend how learning happened in schools. But an interesting thing happened here in Huntley 158. We were already fully one-to-one. All of our staff, all of our students were, for the most part, comfortable to having technology. They're comfortable with using computers as a resource for their learning. So imagine that March of 2020 when our world kind of screeched to a halt for a little while, and we all had to figure out how to effectively have students learn remotely. We didn't have the hurdles of learning new technology. We had some new technologies we had to implement, videos in classrooms, that sort of stuff. We absolutely had that. We had those roadblocks. But our students and our staff were used to having things that they were uncomfortable with. They were used to trying new things. They're used to making those mistakes and failing forward. It actually put the district in a unique spot that we were oddly prepared for remote learning. Nobody wanted to do that, but we were prepared for it when it happened. So we could kind of hit the ground, not running, but at least at a quick pace. So when we had students that very next week come online to online classrooms, the adjustment was to online learning. to seeing your teacher on the computer screen rather than in person. Again, nobody loved it. Our staff did a great job adapting to it, and the students were phenomenal. You want to find a more resilient group of people in this world, I challenge you, you won't find a group more resilient than students during that whole experience. And we asked our students to completely change the way they learn, and they rose to that challenge. So where did that leave us? In our elementary rooms, our classrooms went virtual. Students kept, for the most part, kept their same teachers, so they would see a familiar face every morning. Definitely had those challenges. Like I said, we got better over time. And that's one of our expectations of both our students and our staff. Try something, if it works, keep doing it. If it doesn't work, make an adjustment. Totally okay with that. Some of our internal data showed that academic growth was pretty close to expectations. It wasn't perfect. We'll own the fact that it wasn't perfect, but it wasn't terrible either. We heard some data even just this morning that at this point in time, we're actually seeing that growth is actually on track, and even in some grade levels surpassing pre-COVID growth numbers. So not only were we able to kind of minimize the impact for students, but we were able to recover relatively quickly from that as well. At the secondary level, that 6th grade through 12th grade and beyond, students were zooming into classrooms with their teachers. We found some struggles with students not having their cameras on, disconnecting from their learning, not necessarily engaging with the teachers or their classmates that much. We saw some struggles. We saw students not succeeding in high school. We do home visits, we do conversations with building administrators, with teachers, with counselors, social workers, anything we could do to try to bring that engagement back to a high level for those students. We have seen recovery in that growth data as well. So I'm very proud of our staff and students there as well. But I'm going to go back to the fact that this was an experience, again, that none of us wanted. But I'll tell you, there's a group of 10,000 people in this school district that just took the bull by the horns and made the best of what was not the best situation. So I couldn't be more proud of the work they did. And a lot of that was because of the technology that we had in place. So that is kind of where we're going to kick off into what Brian Zwemke's going to share, and what we learned from pandemic, and the good in remote learning, and the good in online learning, and how that's going to kind of modify and change the trajectory of where we're going maybe the next 5 years, and maybe you'll have us back in 5 years again to share what we've done, and maybe we'll even be able to share some ideas of what we think the next 5 or 10 years might hold, if we have a few minutes at the end. So I'll turn it over to Dr. Zwemke.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for having us. Before we talk a little bit about how our students learn, I think it's important that we talk about where our students learn. We have a beautiful campus, 3 beautiful campuses at our district, and we're really proud of that. We're really proud of our Huntley community. We're proud to be here today. Thank you so much for having us. Who has a grandchild in one of our schools right now in Huntley 158? Let me see those proud hands. Awesome. Okay. Anybody have experience working in Huntley 158 prior to? Does anybody have a child working in the district right now as a teacher or throughout? All right, so where our kids learn is important. How they learn is very important as well too. And I just want to share that a little bit with you. So I have the great privilege of working with our 2 middle schools, Heinemann and Marlowe Middle School, as well as our high school. We share that responsibility with another assistant superintendent who supports the elementary school. And we look at learning at the middle school and the high school ways, kind of through 4 different pathways. And if you can think about a 14, 15-year-old student all the way to 18 years old, they really have 4 different pathways in which they can choose the way that they want to learn. They have that traditional pathway. They come to class each and every day. When we talk about traditional, we talk about time, every single day, period 1 to period 2 to period 3 on that train track. We have a program at our high school that we call blended learning. And what blended learning means is really good instructions online and then really engaging in good instruction offline or in front of a teacher. And that happens in multiple ways. We have a group of kids that are a part of a program that we call the Vanguard Vision. And that's kind of like a school within a school type model of students. And they have the opportunity to learn at their own pace and path and choice throughout. And then this year, and I'm going to spend a little bit more time speaking about this, we have 3 brand new online classes that can be taken not in school, but really anywhere, to be taken right here. We'll talk about that a little bit as well. So Dr. Budzinski was here about 5 years ago speaking about technology. Prior to my arrival 10 years ago, and I just started this past July, and I'm very impressed already with the amount of work our teachers and our kids do. We had a program that started called Blended Learning. And we have about 70 teachers across all of our departments, from science to social studies to physical education to art, that are now taking blended learning type of classes. And one high school graduate, we found a quote the other day about that Huntley High School was so innovative with its blended classes that I felt like I had a college figured out before I even got there. My 4 years of high school completely prepared me for this. And those are those validating statements that make you feel like, wow, this is worth what we're doing here in Huntley 158. Our values emerge over time through blended. It helps the kids in some decision making, time management, social emotional health, how they feel about themselves and the way that they learn, their increasing of ownership, and then they learn in the manner that is best for them. So I'll share a little bit about our newest pathway. And I think when we come back 5 years from now, I hope we're invited back, Dr. Budzinski. So far, so good. I see some heads nodding. Nobody's going back to the app with the flashlight on it. I can see that you're still with me. We have an online learning pathway that I'd like to share with you. I think this is really neat, and we can see some growth in this direction moving forward. So I'm going to try to get this started.
As Huntley 158 has worked to provide the most relevant and useful learning models to our students, we continuously strive to create passionate and capable 21st century learners and thinkers. With this goal in mind, Huntley High School has developed a new and custom-made online learning pathway to meet the needs of our students in an ever-changing society. This program will be ready to launch in the 2022-2023 school year and will emphasize a similar level of student choice and flexibility that has found so much success in our blended learning pathway. Catalyzed by the months of remote learning at the outset of the COVID-19 pandemic, and as a response to the increasing digital literacy of our students, Huntley 158 identified a growing need for this type of program at the high school level. In order to prepare our students for college-level academics, a variety of career paths, or employment opportunities after high school, we feel that elevating our use of technology in our buildings can enhance student engagement and set them up for success in a variety of arenas. We have the tools at our disposal to harness this instructional model in realistic, common-sense ways that benefit the modern-day learner. This pathway will focus on flexibility and allow students to select coursework that best serves them. While technology has been in a state of constant evolution for several years, our staff and students have never been better prepared to harness its educational impact in the classroom. We are encouraged by the myriad of technical skills that our district has gained over the past year and a half, and stand poised to expand on these through the implementation of this program. As always, we seek to pioneer new and innovative learning styles that will serve today's learners and inspire tomorrow's leaders.
At the elementary level, we really want to make sure that it's not just the technology device that we're focusing in on, but we really want our youngest learners to be problem solvers, critical thinkers, be able to communicate, collaborate, be adaptable as they continue to learn and grow. We want, through really an engineering process, for our students to ask real good questions and imagine solutions, make some plans with one another, create and improve something. with really authentic learner. And that student is really the center of our learning at the elementary level all the way through the high school level. Students at the elementary level through a program called Explore, they get to learn about robotics and automation, animated storytelling, light and sound, collisions, and so much more human activity and the impact on Earth. And it's just fascinating to see 3rd, 4th, 5th graders learn and think and use technology in this way. At our middle school, we're really proud of a program that we call Project Lead the Way. And Project Lead the Way is an engineering concept and curriculum where students are innovators, they're makers, they're learning about designing and modeling. We have a great program with robotics using Vex robotics platforms. Students get to apply what they know to design and program, you know, anything from robotic arms to traffic lights and everything in between. It's relevant to them. It's shareable with one another, and it's a great opportunity for our kids to use those critical and creative thinking skills blended in with technology. I use this kind of dashboard. I'm really proud of our work at the high school level as well too, and I think it's really neat to, when you think about how many opportunities students have at our high school level. Those are all of our departments listed, from English to science to math, family and consumer science, music. Had a great conversation about the arts earlier today. Every class is important because every child is important. And we try to give our students as much choice as they possibly can, whether they want to do something in the medical field or they want to do something in the technological field, whether they want to be an accountant or they want to be a school counselor. Whatever they want to do, we want to try to give them an opportunity to learn about that path along the way. And some of the best learning that they do is they learn that they don't like that. And I think that's really important at that young age as well, to say, I wanted to go down this road, and guess what? I tried it after 2 or 3 classes, and the sight of blood is going to make me sick. I definitely can't go in the medical field. But what I do really like is working on the technology side of a hospital, where I really like business. But after a few semesters, they realize that they struggle in that area and that might not be for them. We'd rather them have that experience at Huntley High School and throughout our K-12 experience, so that when they do go off to a 4-year university or they begin their career, they already have a good idea what they're doing. That's cost effective, right? So the more they have an opportunity to see things. What I think is a crazy number is there's 226 courses that a student can take. Obviously, they can't take them all, right? There's not enough time in the day. But we have so many great courses involved at our high school level. In that applied technology, 16 courses, our computer science, 6 different courses that we're really, really proud of. And we offer them in a lot of different ways. In that traditional sit down, be an active learner with your teacher every day in front of you 5 days a week, absolutely. Some of the classes are a blended format where you're in school with that teacher 3 days a week or 2 days a week, depending on the instructor. In some ways, they're online classes, like an English class or a PE class, where right now we're giving our kids heart rate monitors and they're uploading videos, and that's how they're showing their teacher how they're working out or learning. So it's just fascinating the different ways that our kids can produce knowledge and learn. We have American government, an English class for our seniors, our physical education programs, all available to our students online. And this is kind of neat. For next school year, we just drafted up a new class called cybersecurity. You were just speaking about cybersecurity at the beginning of the onset, where we're going to be working with students on that realm of technology, that secure side of technology. We have an alternative learning program in our district for our students as well, and that's all online as well. It's just fascinating the amount of choice and agency our kids have in order to be successful through the Huntley 158 program and then beyond. I'm going to invite up Dr. Budzinski a little bit more. He's going to talk about a program called Smart Social.
The internet is it's a big place, right? And you see some of the icons of different social media apps that our kids and grandkids are probably way more familiar with than we are. We noticed that, we recognized that in our schools. So we partnered with a company called Smart Social a couple of years ago. And maybe it's even 3 or 4 years ago now we started this. We've expanded it over time. Smart Social is a group that works with parents for the parents' benefit, to help parents understand all these social media apps from a parent perspective. Not necessarily to say, hey, keep your kids off these apps because they're dangerous, but hey, parents, here's ways to be aware of what your kids are doing so that you're not surprised when you hear of, oh, I saw this message on Snapchat. Well, I didn't even know what Snapchat was for a while. Instagram, the whole list of social media apps is endless. And this is a company, like I said, we partner with as a free service to all of our families in the district for parents to learn more about these apps and the impact that they can have on students and students learning as a way to help guide parents through the difficulties of, are these apps really appropriate for our family? If yes, how can we help control that and make sure we maintain student safety and the safety of their children? So a very good partnership that we're incredibly proud of as a service that, like I said, we're able to offer free to all of our families, because we don't want any of our parents to feel like they're out of touch with the technology and to be afraid of it, as much as we want them to be able to be confident in their knowledge of these applications that their kids may be using, and help support their children in making appropriate decisions in how they're using any of these given apps. So just one thing that we're really proud of in terms of some of the services that we're able to offer our families as well.
Skip through the, go one more, one more. Just in the
Oh,
time
sure.
we have remaining to.
Sure. Would you mind grabbing that little black box or the thing? So one of the things we wanted to get to a little bit was we had some questions over the last couple of weeks about what's the future look like for technology. And I'm not going to try to wear this and talk at the same time because this could be dangerous. So we are looking at, as a district, you may have seen me over here wearing the headset, and I'm sure if I put it on, Kimmy's going to try to snap a picture of me. So we are talking a lot about what's the future of education look like. And I'll give you a brief demo real quick, and we'll try this and see if it works. I'm not sure if it's actually on yet, but I can actually put this on, and I'll give it a second to turn on. And I can actually see all of you. And I see on my screen, there's a box right here on my screen that's my news feed. And I can see a box on my screen up here that's a different news feed, or it's things that are going on at work. And if I turn my head, there's another screen over here. But I can still see all of you. There's cameras on here, so I can see everyone in the room right now. This is going to be part of education at some point. I'm not saying it's going to take over all of education, because we don't want to be headache inducing. That's not our goal. But I will tell you, programs are being developed for virtual reality where we can immerse students in learning and they can become a part of their learning. Some of the things that we're already looking at for this sort of technology is to be able to immerse students in a 3D modeling. They could build a 3D model of a house and literally tour the house with these sorts of tools. So we can build that sort of experience for our students. And that's only a couple of years away at most. So a lot of that's already being developed. And we're going to try to find ways, unique ways that we can implement these sorts of opportunities for our students. Partially because they're in tune to this sort of technology. It's an Oculus. My kids have them at home. This is actually mine. I have to own the fact that this is mine. It's not even my kids. I didn't steal this one. But I felt I had to keep up with them because they're able to do so many things with their devices like this that I didn't want to be left behind. So that's why I've got this, and we're starting to look at opportunities for using the same sort of technology in our schools. Some of the other questions that we've had around operational efficiencies, right? Technology is not free, let's be honest. So there's costs associated with technologies, but at the same time, we are striving every single day to leverage technology to do things more efficiently, not just in the classroom, but operationally speaking. We have lots of system automation in place so that we can have our teachers spend more time teaching rather than figuring out grade metrics and success rates on assessments, those sorts of things. We have systems that can automate a lot of that so our teachers can teach. That's what teachers should be doing. We would rather teachers be teaching than doing mapping assessments and figuring out all of the behind the scenes stuff. Let's have them focusing with students. So those are the efficiencies that we're looking for in terms of leveraging technology for the benefit. One of the other questions that came up, actually David sent it to us just a week or so ago about ChatGPT. If you're watching the news these days and hear of ChatGPT, it's an artificial intelligence engine where you can ask it questions, you can type in questions, and you can get an essay written out on your screen on that topic. It takes about 30 seconds to get a pretty well-formed essay. So the questions are, how is this going to impact education? If a student can just type in, how would the world be different if such and such event would have ended differently? The system will give you an answer to that. It may not be the best answer, but it's going to give you an answer. And it's going to give you a pretty well-formed and written answer. So the question is that going to, what does that do for students showing that they've learned the content that they're supposed to be learning if they can just type the question in? It challenges us as educators to change how we ask those questions and say, make it more personal, bring it down to the student level of how does this impact you if things would have been different. So it's really going to challenge education to change our operation, to really think about how we're asking those questions and determining what students have learned and verifying that they've learned it. I don't know if you want to add anything more on that, but.
Sure, thank you. Yeah, if you've been watching the news, there will definitely be things about a program called ChatGPT. And just like Dr. Budzinski was saying, you put in a prompt or a question and just like that instantaneously, there's this beautifully written response. So we're gonna have to look at it quite intently with our teachers and with our students and talk about the responsible way to use that tool, as well as really thinking about the way that we write those thought-provoking questions for teachers. Think about an English essay that we all had to write, where that temptation might be to say, hey, I'm just gonna type that question and we're gonna have to work with our teachers and our kids to make sure that they understand what the tool is, but they make sure that it's their learning and their authentic learning itself. And I see a couple of you having some ideas about maybe a project that you gotta do. Don't quite do that. ChatGPT is an interesting tool, but we're learning quite a bit about it. I think the other thing that's exciting for us to do is within Dr. Budzinski's 10 years, and he's been here 5 years ago, is the amount of technology that now impacts education on a day-to-day basis. There's so much of it, right? Even as you look at your phone and all the different apps and the computer software programs, we have to start to take a review and say, okay, we've just come out of the pandemic, we're okay. Our kids are gonna be okay. We're gonna get back to that refinement and refocusing and being amazing in Huntley 158. Which tools do we need? Which tools need to go? And so that we can simplify some things for our families, our parents, our community, for our students and for our teachers in order for them to really focus in, not on the tech tool, but on the actual learning. So we're in the process of doing that, and that's exciting work that we get to engage in with a lot of our members as well too. So anything else in terms of the future?
Not necessarily. I did get one question from Frank about the words scrolling across the bottom of the screen here. If you've noticed that this is a relatively new thing that we're trying to use more and more, that's also artificial intelligence making that happen. So when somebody says artificial intelligence, don't assume bad stuff, because that's a really good thing for us to be able to have that scrolling across the bottom of the screen. It's not perfect. We'll own the fact that it's not perfect. It's a tool that's still being developed to make these words scroll across the screen. I couldn't have predicted what I was going to say here, so I couldn't have typed it in fast enough. But it's doing a pretty good job of keeping up with us. So this is the sort of thing that we want to see artificial intelligence used for, not that bad stuff that you'll likely hear about in the news. So there's certainly positive uses. This is a great one for us in classrooms, for students who may have some hearing troubles, and maybe not want to admit that, or maybe they don't even know. So this is a great option for us that we're trying to use more and more, which is why I asked if I could put it up here today as well. Hopefully somebody found some benefit in it. And we're always trying to make it better too, but that's actually a function of our presentation tool.
Those tools that you talked about today extend into the arts, theater, music, etc.
Yeah, I think any of our courses are going to benefit from a good use of students being creative with technology tools, collaborating with one another using technology tools, communicating with one another with technology tools. So you're going to have some hardware type of things in a theater production, right? By the way, who's trying out for 9 to 5 in here? Okay, you're going to use some technology, right? But with the other piece of it is our kids are going to be able to collaborate where a student can be typing into a Google Doc and other people can be collaborating within that, sharing presentations. That's going to happen within our art classes with the amount of photo opportunities and software. So you're going to see technology interwoven throughout all of our curriculum. Not one more class than another class. It's just really just a part of the fabric of how we do business and how our kids learn. Great question. Yes, sir.
We have 2 microphones here, and we always open up for questions from our visitors. So if anyone is interested to come up here to the microphone, or if Frank has one, we're walking around, raise your hand or come forward and pepper them with some good questions.
Hey guys, that was a great presentation. It's really reassuring to see all the work and things that you're doing for the students. You know, there's people in the workforce that are complaining that, gosh, the kids coming out of school just really aren't up to speed on getting into the workforce. You know, higher education is complaining that the kids really aren't at the level that they were expecting. We have, you know, falling test scores. Some critics of the education say that, you know, education is moving more towards these social things, you know, CRT, trainings, and things like that, and getting away from this teaching the skills that kids need in the workforce. What can you say to that?
I'll go back a couple slides that I didn't spend too much time on. What we want to make sure that all our kids every single day, we want our kids to feel physically safe and we want them to feel mentally secure every single day. We want that for them, we want that for their parents, and we want that for our community. We want safe schools, we want our kids to feel good, right? So with that in mind, we also want them to understand who they are as a learner. That their path along the way throughout our school may lead down that road of post-secondary education of a college. It may lead them down the road to a career. It may lead them down the road to, I don't know. And then they have to make multiple choices as they go out throughout their late teen years into their adult years. We've partnered with a group called SchoolLinks as an industry partner now. And what's really unique about this, we're starting this work with our middle schoolers. And we're asking them, how do you like to learn? What are you interested in doing when you grow up? And as they learn a little bit, I might want to do something in manufacturing, or I might want to go into the military, or I might want to go into computer science, or I might want to be a teacher. We could then use that information with them so we can help develop 4-year academic plans for them in the high school. So it starts, I think, by focusing in on, we want safe schools, we want our kids to feel safe at school and try and fail and make multiple choices. And then if they really know themselves as a learner, and I think we all have to think about how we learn and how we manage time. Some students have to be in front of that teacher every single day or they will fall behind. Some kids don't. Some kids can learn on their own, and some kids probably learn better on their own. Some kids don't. So it's important for us to understand who they are, but we have to ask them questions earlier and earlier in those middle school years to say, what is it that you might be interested in? And then I think that focus isn't on all of those other things. The focus is where it should be, which is right on that, right with that specific student. Thank you for the question. Yes, sir.
Hi, excellent presentation. My question has to do with technology. Nassau has developed a nationwide program with STEM schools, schools teaching STEM subjects. And they've also invited schools to work with them on certain projects that eventually wind up in the space program and on spacecraft, of all things. And I was wondering, have you looked into it, or are you in the process of doing anything with Nassau regarding those types of projects for high school students?
That information is classified at this time. But
I'm a little familiar with the program from just my own interest in I would love to send something to space. I don't know what it would be yet. We haven't specifically started any work with that program. We're always looking for those opportunities. I'd like to take that back to some of our curriculum directors as well, to say, hey, we should be trying some of this stuff. Huntley's a great school district. We've got a great reputation out there. We could get our students involved in a lot of this. And frankly, I'd love to see Huntley stuff go to space. What a great news story that could be for everybody in the community to say, hey, we were able to do this in support of our students and their learning. So, not specifically with that program yet.
I'll send you some information.
Yeah, please do.
Nassau
Please do,
has about
absolutely.
that, and they don't send students to space.
But what if they could send
do is
student
they
projects
send-
into space?
They send their
Yeah,
products.
That's exactly right. They
There's
the students
modeling,
work on
there's
projects.
modeling. I was wondering if you get a chance later, I have other questions, but if you get a chance later to talk about the modeling you do or the 3D printing, it should be interesting.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
The closed captioning that you showed us here today, very impressive. Much better than what one sees on TV for live performance, where it's like 2-second delay. You said that you developed this here. Are you getting patent coverage?
This closed captioning tool is actually a Google tool. It's one that we've helped them work on a little bit here and there over the last couple of years. It's not something that we've developed, but it's truly built into this is actually a Google presentation tool that they built it into. It was turned off for a little while for some improvements. It came back on, I want to say 6 months ago or so, maybe a little bit longer than that. But it's a Google tool that we're trying to leverage for the obvious benefits. I wish I would have developed it myself though.
My question is, you partially answered my question when you were talking about guiding students towards the specific thing. But my question is, does Huntley High School offer any kind of apprenticeship programs for kids that do not want to go to college, can't go to college because of financial reasons, or if they want to go into a trade of some sort? Because everyone is not going to go to college, and we do need service people.
Please applause for that, absolutely. Yes, 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 and yes. We are really focusing in on, again, when we think about our kids and we can work with them earlier on what you're interested in, we have to understand which different pathway that could work for a student. Working with community partners, setting up internships. Illinois has now created, within the last 3 to 4 years, something through the workforce with legislation, really for students to create educational pathways or career pathways. And there's several that Huntley is already involved in from, anything from business to computers and throughout. And there's lots of opportunities for our students to work in our community daily. And what I have is a sheet of paper here with you, as I'm certainly, I'll leave this with you. There's a number of QR codes up here as well that's listed here as well too. And what's neat about this is we can start working with our community members now. Let me show you just real briefly. So, for example, we are working with our students right now, and we're able to share with them in kind of a career center mode. Like, these are the top jobs right now where you might need a bachelor's degree. Okay, that 4-year university type of degree. Look at that, registered nursing, software development, accounting and audit. What does 2 years of school look like? What are those top jobs opening in the state of Illinois right now? Nursing assistants, preschool teaching, web development, social work. What kind of jobs with no degree needed afterwards? Food service managers, home health aide, retail sales, so on and so forth. What's really neat about this tool that we can share with you are a lot of the opportunities in our own county where we can start showcasing our local businesses, your local businesses that can connect with our students. Kind of think like Facebook as a job board. These are the different things that are available for students. When you talk about, we have a great partnership with a Manufacturing Pathways Consortium right now where a student can leave Huntley High School with experience in welding, can leave Huntley High School with experience in medicine, working and doing an internship with Northwest Medicine right now. So the pathways, again, start with who are you, how do you like to learn, and what are you interested in? Hello, nice to meet you. And then here are 200 plus courses at the high school level in any way you want to learn them. And then here's a tool that currently our 11-year-olds at the middle schools are starting to learn with, so that they think about, this is how I'm interested in learning, here's what I could do. And then our students are on this very page right now trying to figure out what they might want to do. And along that pathway, they can choose lots of different things, from a 4-year university all the way through a career post-secondary where they're getting an apprenticeship or they're joining a local union. We had a great experience. I wish I had the picture with me. I could pull it up maybe real quick. We had a local IBEW come in and work with our students in a geometry construction class. And we're building an auto lift. And we wanted to have basically a shed for us to be able to put tools, so on and so forth. So the roof on it is solar. So the IBEW folks came out to work with our kids pretty much one-on-one on a Saturday and taught the kids how to do that. That's amazing. Those are the types of community partnerships that we're looking for. We think this tool will help us get along with that as well too. Somebody is going to come out of that class and choose a career down that way. And that's what we're looking for. And what's the right path to choose? It's the right one for the students. Our job, my job, Dr. Basinski's job, is to build as many programs with as many tools as possible for all kids, and then take a step back and give it to them and make sure it works. And then say to them, what went well, what didn't, how can we improve? It's not our responsibility to say, you know what, you should really go to a 4-year university and you should be a plumber. That's not our role and responsibility. Our role and responsibility is to give our kids as many choices as they possibly can for them along the way to make those right choices that are right for them, right for their family, and right for their community. Thank you for that question. I really appreciate that question. Yes?
Again, like the rest of us, I appreciate your talk. But one of the things I think a big problem in our society is centered around people that the education system has failed. Our people who are unemployable, people who lack the resources to make effective decisions, people who are parents but lack parenting skills, maybe never acquired them through dysfunctional families, whatever. Is as part of the school system's social responsibility, is there anything other than perhaps GED prep or something that we can you can institute to bring people back into society other than wait until they're in prison and then run programs there?
Yeah, I think one of the things that we have to recognize is that we have a responsibility for a lot related to education. We have the responsibility to teach our students the curriculum. We have our responsibility to teach them how to get along with one another. And we have a responsibility, not just on the academic side of things, but also on the social emotional side of things, that they're mentally strong, and they have the opportunity to make good decisions. And we really work with a great group of social workers, counselors, directors, principals, teachers, in order really at the base layer to provide those skills early. How kids interact with each other, what are those expectations in a school on how you would be respectful, be responsible, and be involved. Those are kind of our three core areas that we focus on really throughout the district. It's said differently throughout the building, but we're really trying to work on how can we make our students academically strong, but also good people. I think that we all want good people that can interact with each other in a nice and respectful way, learn how to disagree appropriately, learn how to have an argument that is productive, that doesn't cut to negativity. So often we see, examples where people can't have a communication where they might disagree on it and it ends up poorly. So I think it really starts with the community, it starts with home, and it starts in our classrooms for us setting the expectations. This is how we want you to interact with one another and treat yourself. Along the way, when that doesn't go well, we have to intervene. And we intervene in ways where either we're reteaching, we're reinforcing, we are changing environments and atmospheres and different curriculum in order for us to keep working. So we do recognize that we are going to have some students that do struggle on a daily basis, and we have teams of folks available for them throughout their experience so that it doesn't get to a point where it's into their 20s, 30s, 40s. We can see some things really right now at 4 and 8 and 12 and 16, so that those kids can be successful at something and in life beyond Huntley 158, because they're staying in the community. We all have that vested interest.
Yeah, I'd like to say thank you as well for being here. Along with you being here, I would love if sometime you're back to hear from some of the students and hear what they feel the programs did for them, and what their success stories might be from the student. And along with that, I'm wondering if you have students maybe that are at the high school level sort of mentoring some of the younger students about the programs and what they can do there. And I think it would be wonderful to have maybe even like an open house or something where we could bring our grandkids, our younger ones, and say, here, listen to these students and what's been good for them. And because my granddaughter, she pretty much learns from the other kids. I can't teach her anything, but she can learn from the other kids and from the teachers. That's who teaches. So I'm just curious if you have anything going like that.
Yeah, I think a couple things that I would highlight is I think you're right. Kids learn from each other very well, and sometimes they even speak a language. You're like, what are you saying? But they certainly learn from each other. Just connecting this question to the last question, we have a program at our high school level for our freshmen, where we have some of our juniors and seniors help advise them through what we call an advisory program. And they come in during their advisory program, which is daily, but on Thursdays and Fridays, they come in and kind of mentor those freshmen along the way, along the path. But I think you bring a couple good ideas here to this that I'd like to bring back to my colleagues in terms of reaching out even further down within the early grades. Can you think of anything that I missed?
I was gonna say, I kind of feel bad with that question because my 8th grade son asked if he could come here today. Well, he came with me 5 years ago when I came, and he was in 3rd grade at the time, and he got more questions than I got about using the technology. He would have loved to have been here today, but it's a Thursday and he needs to be at the school. So I feel bad because he would have been a great storyteller of all of this. And being in 8th grade, he's actually faced with what's high school going to look like for him next year. Well, his school and the high school are already reaching out to him as a student and to us as parents to say, hey, don't forget, we have to start planning for high school. We're going to come to your school, I think it's next week.
January 20th?
January 20th, next week. They'll actually go to the middle schools and actually talk to the 8th grade students about high school programs to start kind of shaping that interest. The students have an opportunity to go to the high school. The parents can go to the high school as part of that transition plan. So I was kind of nervous about this, and I work in the district. I've never had a high school student, but I'm thankful that the school is reaching out to say, hey, we know you might be new to this. Here's kind of the glide path for successful entry into high school. So those sorts of things are definitely happening. And now I wish I could rewind and I had brought my son with, just for exactly that question. So.
Well, if you're interested, we do video these and put them on YouTube.
He'll probably see it. He'll probably see it by the end of the day.
And they're free, no charge.
He watched the last one too, so he's like, "Dad, I'll watch it by the end of the day if it's up there." So he'll go see it, I'm sure.
Gentlemen, thank you for a wonderful presentation this morning.
Thank you.
Now, before everybody gets up and runs away, there's a little housekeeping request from the coffee and donut crew. On the tables, you'll see a little cloth. Get in the middle of the table. Please wipe down your space before you leave. It makes it easier for them to put the cloth away. Thank you so much. See you next month.